Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will be attending the funeral ceremony on Wednesday. Khaleda Zia was undergoing treatment at Dhaka's Evercare Hospital. She had been under treatment for the past 36 days since being admitted on the 23rd of November. According to her doctors, she had advanced cirrhosis of the liver, arthritis, diabetes, as well as chest and heart problems. According to a statement issued by the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, she breathed her last at 6 a.m. local time. In a post on Facebook, the party requested everyone to pray for the departed soul. Her death, remember, comes just days after her son, Tariq Rahman, returned to Bangladesh from London, ending 17 years of self-imposed exile as the country heads towards crucial elections on the 12th of February next year. Meanwhile, the chief advisor of the interim administration in Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus, expressed profound sorrow on Zia's demise. In a condolence message, Yunus said that with the passing of the former Prime Minister, Bangladesh has lost a great guardian. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his sincere condolences to Zia's family and the people of Bangladesh. In a post on X, PM Modi lauded her contribution towards the development of Bangladesh and India-Bangladesh relations. He recalled his warm meeting with her back in 2015. So who was Khaleda Zia? Well, Khaleda Zia was born on the 15th of August 1946. In 1960, she married Zia-ur-Rahman, who later became the president of Bangladesh. She turned to politics after the assassination of Zia-ur-Rahman, joining the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, in 1982. She was elected vice chairperson of the party in March 1983 and became the chairperson of the party in the next year, that's August 1984. Years later, in 1991, she became Bangladesh's first woman prime minister. She returned to office in 1996 after the BNP secured a landslide victory but resigned within a month. Khaleda Zia was re-elected prime minister in 2001 and 5 years later, in 2006, she stepped down from office, transferring power to a caretaker administration. During her entire political career, she fought against Sheikh Hasina over her legacy, policies, and even on India. With Khaleda Zia no more and Hasina ousted from the country, the question that Bangladesh is staring at is, what next? Let's get answer to this question and much more and decode this entire situation that prevails now after Khaleda Zia. I'm joined by Ambassador Veena Sikri. She is former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. She's currently a professor at the Jamia Millia Islamia University. Ambassador Sikri, good evening. Welcome to WION. I want to start by asking you, and since I think you're the best person to help us understand this, since you served in Bangladesh during the time of Khaleda Zia as Prime Minister, I want to understand from you the legacy she leaves behind and whether that legacy will be followed by her son Tariq Rahman, who many tout as the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh.
Well, I think she has a legacy, I would say, definitely on 2 or 3 issues. One would be that she did get together, the courage and the leadership to lead the BNP after the death of President Zia-ur-Rahman, and she led it to great success. She was she got the party together, she increased the membership, and eventually became the first lady prime minister in the general elections held after 15 years of military dictatorship in Bangladesh. This was in 1991. So that was, an important legacy. And in 1991, the second aspect of what I'd like to talk about is that Begum Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina got together to fight for democracy. These parties and these 2 leaders are often seen as being on the opposite side and, being always warring with each other. And in fact, I sometimes say that you're always talking only about the 2 women, you're calling them battling Begums and so on. Yeah. But, actually they did get together to bring democracy back to Bangladesh in 1991. And again, in 2007-8, when there was an army-backed caretaker government in Bangladesh, both Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina told them that they must bring back democracy, must have elections. So another reason that they got together. So that is an important point. And I think that also they got together, the 2 leaders, to bring in the caretaker government system. When Begum Khaleda Zia stood for re-election in 96. She declared herself re-elected, but nobody accepted it. And then
Okay.
she willingly stepped down. So these are aspects of, them wanting to bring democracy. And I think this is the legacy that her son, Tariq Rahman, will be expected to follow. Because I think one of the worries of the BNP after, 5 years of being in alliance with Jamaat-e-Islami, that many of the BNP members are pro-Jamaat. And so many in this forthcoming election may actually be quite happy with seeing Jamaat coming to power, because Jamaat is certainly trying very hard
Yeah.
to get elected. They've got in a coalition of Islamist parties, and they're trying to fight that out. But I think Tariq Rahman's legacy will be to arrange an inclusive election. And if he's able to do that and bring in the Awami League as a democratic participant in the elections, at the moment they're seeing it as what I may call a friendly fight between the Jamaat and the
Okay.
BNP. But the Awami League and others need to be brought in. They are being left out incorrectly, I think, because a non-participatory election, first of all, will not be considered credible, and it will not be accepted by the people. It happened before, in 96, like I told you, when the election was considered not fair and free. People opposed it. They didn't accept Khaleda Zia's election second time as Prime Minister after 1991. And so the elections had to be done again. There was a caretaker system brought into the
Yeah.
constitution, and then it worked out. So this time I really hope that Tariq Rahman will agree and will bring in inclusive elections.
Okay.
And once all the parties are there, whoever wins in those elections, it's fine. Because then the people will accept it as a democratic expression of will, and there will be stability. Today, there's
Sure.
complete anarchy.
Ambassador Sikri, one of the other challenges and legacies that perhaps Tariq Rahman also has to explore and make a decision on is Bangladesh's stance towards India. Khaleda Zia was a vocal voice who spoke against India very many times. She even attacked Sheikh Hasina on those lines. But now with Tariq Rahman expected to be at the helm of affairs, how do you see him tackling the India-Bangladesh ties, which currently, of course, as we all know, are strained?
Yes, I think this is a very important point, because you're right. I was there at the time when Begum Khaleda Zia was Prime Minister, and we had major issues, particularly on security. The support that the then Bangladesh government was giving for the Northeast Indian insurgent groups. They had bases and camps in Bangladesh, they had businesses and bank accounts in Bangladesh. It was very difficult, and they would go from Bangladesh, commit their terrorist acts, and then come back to Bangladesh. So this was a very important issue that we were taking it up, but they never saw the light of day. And one of the reasons for this is that right at the time that President Zia Rahman became president, became a military dictator, and fought for, and then created the BNP, he has always been very pro-Pakistan. He did not although he was himself a freedom fighter, but then he, used the help of Pakistan in everything he did after he became president. And that became a big problem. And even now, during 2001, 2006, when Khaleda Zia was Prime Minister for the full term, Tariq Rahman was very active, but he was very active in coordination with Pakistan. He led this Hawa Bhavan. There were two terrible incidents: attack on Sheikh Hasina's rally, Chittagong Arms Hall, all of them where Pakistan was fully involved. During 17 years of exile in London, also Tariq Rahman has been very much involved. Some people say directly, even with the ISI. So again, on this point, he has to show that he is different. Now, right now, with the terrible attacks on minorities, on women, the complete anarchy, people are being killed and lynched and raped. But Tariq Zia is completely silent. He has said nothing about the law and order situation. He has made some generalities of walking together, but he has shown or expressed no sympathy towards the people. Yeah. So I think these are points. Everybody will be watching Tariq Rahman very carefully, and whether he can overcome his legacy of the past, overcome what he did the last 17 years.
Ambassador Sikri, one quick last point I want to understand from you. Since you talked about the two Begums, Sheikh Hasina and Khaleda Zia, coming together to bring back democracy, there was also a time in Bangladesh in 2006-07 when the military wanted to throw these two matriarchs out and rule the country. How do you think the Bangladesh army can play a role at this moment?
Well, at that time, what was very predominant was the -2 formula. And I think that is why even today they're talking of that,
Yeah.
And in fact, I must recall that at that time, the period you're talking about when the army-backed caretaker government was in power, Mohammed Yunus tried to come into politics. He even created a party And he didn't succeed because nobody supported him. Despite his huge chain of Grameen Bank and grassroots organization, he was not supported at all. And he said, I'm leaving politics. But now he has come back. He again created this
Yeah.
NPP, which is actually more aligned with the Jamaat-e-Islami. But the army this time has been remarkably quiet. They have not really intervened at all, despite the law and order being so abysmal, despite the really very evident and shocking state of affairs in terms of whether it's universities, whether it is rural life, whether it is the Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and the Sufis and Ahmadiyyas. So they have been remarkably quiet, whether it's under pressure from certain countries, whether they feel. So it's a moot point. But I do think at this point now, in order to arrange free, fair, and inclusive elections, I think the army has to come back into the picture, and Mohammed Yunus cannot be the caretaker chief. Actually, they'll have to have a new caretaker government, because Mohammed Yunus, by his praise for Osman Hadi, by giving him this, showing his partisanship for one party, for one of the Islamist parties, and he hasn't shown himself to be above.
So Ambassador Sikri, perhaps that balance is missing currently in Bangladesh, and we'll have to wait and watch whether that political stability and balance does come in, and whether these elections are, held successfully in the country, and after that, what happens. But I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Veena Sikri, for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, shifting our focus, the people of Iran are angry. Currency has plunged to a record low. Inflation has continued to soar, and the country's economic situation is in complete shambles. As Iran's clerical regime looks the other way, large protests have broken out. Cities like Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz and Mashhad have all witnessed massive protests on Monday. They were the biggest since 2022, when 22-year-old Mahsa Amini died in police custody. At some places in Tehran, the police fired tear gas to disperse the protesters, and traders and shopkeepers rallied near the Grand Bazaar in Iran's capital after a very long time. Why the Grand Bazaar? Well, the Grand Bazaar played a significant role in toppling Iran's Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, back in 1979. The bazaar merchants were traditionally supporters of the clergy as they catered to the lower middle class. They were angered by the Shah's harsh anti-inflation measures. Following this, they went on a strike for weeks in 1978 and provided financial help to anti-monarchy protesters. The strikes resulted in the crippling of Iranian economy, and eventually the pressure forced the Shah to flee Iran. Now, the current protests come in the backdrop of Iran's currency, which is the rial, crashing to 1.42 million to the US dollar. The inflation rate in December jumped to 42.2%, which is 1.8% higher than in November. Food prices have risen by 72%, and medical items are up by 50% as compared to December last year. The government's plan to raise taxes in the new year also riled up the protesters. Battered by the protests, the Iranian government has begun to cave. Mohammad Reza Farzin, the head of Iran's central bank, has resigned. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has adopted a conciliatory approach. Pezeshkian says that he has asked his interior minister to hold talks with the protesters and listen to their legitimate demands. He affirmed that the government will try to resolve the problems faced by the people. The Iranian president also hinted at a plan to reform the monetary system and protect the purchasing power of the citizens. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, conceded that the people's concerns over economic hardships must be approved and addressed. He has also advocated for a dialogue with the protesters.
People's concerns and protests regarding livelihood problems must be responded to with full responsibility and dialogue, especially with representatives of guilds, and taking necessary measures focused on increasing people's purchasing power and reforming the economic decision-making process must be placed on the agenda of executive officials.
Remember, Ayatollah Khamenei's regime has also faced global rebuke. Taking to X, the US ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, expressed solidarity with the protesting Iranians. He claimed that the people of Iran desire freedom. With a negligible chance of a let-up in sanctions, coupled with the risk of a broader conflict involving Israel and the US, Iran is likely to remain on the boil. All right, let's shift our focus to India now, where the state of West Bengal is approaching election season and top leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is the main opposition party in the eastern state, are taking turns to visit. Currently, Union Home Minister and BJP veteran leader Amit Shah has been leading the charge against long-time Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. Earlier in the day, Amit Shah set the tone for campaign season. Addressing the press conference in the state capital, Kolkata, he laid out BJP's poll pitch for the West Bengal elections. Fear and corruption of the incumbent government, taming infiltration of illegal immigrants and ensuring border security.
क्योंकि आपकी निगहबानी में घुसपैठ कराई जाती है और बंगाल को धीरे धीरे डेमोग्राफी चेंज कर कर आपकी वोट बैंक को पुख्ता करनी चाहती है, मगर ये लंबा नहीं चलेगा। बंगाल की जनता अब जान गई है और इसके खिलाफ लामबंद भी हो रही है। और मुझे मालूम है अगला चुनाव घुसपैठियों को निकालने के मुद्दे पर और घुसपैठ रोकने के मुद्दे पर लड़े जाने वाला है।
The BJP seeks to dethrone Mamata Banerjee, who has been the state's chief minister since 2011. In 2021, the BJP managed to secure 38.5% of the votes and 77 seats in the 294-member assembly, making it only fit to lead as the opposition in the assembly. The party has seen growth in percentage of votes since 2016. Amit Shah now says that the state is ready for a post-Mamata Banerjee era. The incumbent chief minister, on the other hand, is betting big on the SIR, which is a voter list revision exercise carried out by the Election Commission of India, which has triggered political uproar. Addressing a public gathering, Mamata Banerjee said that the poor are being tortured in the name of SIR ahead of elections, and she vowed to protest in Delhi if even one legitimate voter's name is omitted from the list. Remember, elections are expected to be held during March or April of next year. The Election Commission of India is yet to announce specific dates. But before the high-stakes electoral battle, the battleground in West Bengal is already heating up. All right, let's get you more from Armenia now, where there are less than 6 months to go for elections, but the country is rife with reports of politically motivated arrests, state repression, and forced defections. While this may not sound unusual, there is a major difference here. The target isn't some opposition party. It's the Armenian church. Armenia is the oldest Christian country in the world. It declared Christianity as its state religion all the way back in 301 AD, even before the Roman Empire did. More than 95% of Armenia's population follows the church and its teachings, making it an extremely powerful force in the country. And over the last few years, the church has seen a rift with Armenia's Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan. Senior clergy members have repeatedly called for Pashinyan's resignation, and Pashinyan's government has reportedly responded with a crackdown. This weekend, the US-based Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention said that the Armenian Apostolic Church is facing state repression. The think tank also condemned Pashinyan's bid to depose the head of the church, Catholicos Karkin, II. The move has been criticized as a danger to freedom of religion in Armenia, a threat to its culture and to the existential security of the Armenian people. Remember, Armenia is located in the Caucasus region. It shares borders with two friendly nations, Iran and Georgia, and two hostile nations, Turkey and Azerbaijan. In 2023, Azerbaijan defeated Armenia in a war over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. Over 120,000 ethnic Armenians were forced to flee Nagorno-Karabakh and come to Armenia as refugees. Now, this defeat is what sparked the confrontation between the church and Pashinyan.
We do not want the present and future generations of our people to be cursed. The only way to avoid this is for you to resign.
That was an Armenian archbishop demanding Pashinyan's resignation during protests in 2024. He's currently in jail. Reports say that half of the country's archbishops have been thrown into prison. And Pashinyan is backing members of the clergy who oppose the church's leader, Catholicos Karakin II. As a result of this church versus state split, the world's oldest Christian country is now heading into a turbulent Christmas on the 6th of January and a bitterly contested election in June. Malaysia's crackdown on corruption has intensified. The country's army chief, Muhammad Hafizuddin Jantan, has been put on leave. This comes just after former Prime Minister Najib Razak was convicted and sentenced to 15 years of jail in the multi-billion-dollar 1MBD scandal. The action against the army chief comes in the wake of a case lodged by Badrul Hisham Shahreen, a leader of the opposition party Bersatu. He alleged that large cash inflows were detected in the bank accounts of a senior military officer and his family members. According to the opposition leader, the money was transferred by firms that bagged military projects. Commenting on the latest development, Malaysia's Defence Minister Khaled Nordin explained that the army chief was put on leave to ensure that the probe could proceed without any conflict of interest. The army chief will not resume duty until the investigation is completed. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, remember, began its preliminary probe into the matter on the 23rd of December. To begin with, officials of the anti-graft agency visited the Defence Ministry and recorded the statement of 3 people. The MACC also raided several firms involved in bribery linked to army procurement projects. They did this to seize documents suspected to be evidence. The MACC also froze 6 bank accounts belonging to an unnamed suspect and his family members. Malaysia's anti-graft agency is pursuing this case. Remember, at present, the probe is focusing on military procurement projects awarded between 2023 and 25. Malaysia's army chief is yet to record his statement, and a lack of clarity persists over his direct involvement. All right, shifting our focus to Kosovo now, where the country has voted to end its year-long political crisis. Last week's snap election have delivered a pivotal verdict. The country has once again entrusted acting Prime Minister Albin Kurti with leading the way. Kurti's party has emerged as the single largest after the polls. It has managed to secure 49.3% of the votes. Kosovo's 2 main opposition parties, the Democratic Party and the Democratic League, got 20.7% and 14% of the votes respectively. After the results were announced, Kurti greeted supporters outside his headquarters in Pristina. Hundreds of party supporters had gathered to celebrate his victory. The results show large-scale support for Kurti, but that does not guarantee him a government. As things stand currently, Kurti may secure about 56 seats in Kosovo's 120-member parliament. This means he's 5 short of a majority. Now, according to Kosovo's election laws, 20 parliamentary seats are assigned to ethnic Serb representatives and other minority parties. Kurti must forge an alliance to ensure stable government. Kurti has spent months as caretaker PM after elections in February failed to deliver a workable government. This led to bitter division and legislative gridlock, and as a result, Kosovo is heading into 2026 without a budget, even as it is already struggling with a poor economy. The need for support and stability was reflected in Kurti's victory speech. He urged support from the opposition parties as well to secure funds and take Kosovo out of the economic turmoil. Remember, the country is also heading for a presidential election. President Vjosa Osmani's mandate expires in early April next year. Lack of consensus in the parliament can lead to another political showdown during the presidential polls as well. And with that, let's take a look at other political stories making headlines across the globe. The Central African Republic has voted to elect its next president. Around 2.4 million registered voters exercised their mandate in the polls on Sunday. Provisional results will be released on 5th of January. The country's incumbent president, Faston Kargans, is their favorite to win the election for a record third term. This after a controversial constitutional referendum in 2023 paved the way for the third term. The polls took place amid an ongoing civil war that has dragged for over a decade now. The conflict has brought the CAR to the brink of collapse, with armed groups controlling large swaths of the country at various times. And moving on to the Ivory Coast now, where the ruling party has strengthened its hold on power. It has won 197 out of the 255 seats in parliament. With this, President Alassane now has control over the institution. This victory comes 2 months after he was re-elected for a controversial fourth term. The Ivory Coast's opposition has suffered a major loss, raising concerns over the shrinking political space in the country. And as was expected, the junta-backed political party has swept the first phase of elections in Myanmar. This is the first electoral exercise after the junta overthrew Myanmar's democratically elected government in 2021. The country's election commission is yet to announce the results, but the junta-backed Union Solidarity and Development Party, or the USDP, claims to have secured 80% of the vote in the first phase. The focus now shifts to the remaining 2 phases of the election in conflict-ridden Myanmar. And with that, it's a wrap on Race to Power, but news and updates will continue on WION. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.